Okay, so this is a video by Penguins. Soulslike fatigue is setting in. Let's see what he's got to say, because a part of me does kind of agree with what the premise is of the title, at least. So let's see what his opinion is.
Well, unfortunately, it finally happened.
Uh-oh.
That dreaded time is upon us. The Armageddon the Bible warned us about. The oversaturation of my favorite video game genre, Soulslike. There are too many Souls-like games. There are so many Souls, I bet even Shang Tsung would.
So, I don't think there's too many Souls games. I think it's bad Souls games. That's the problem, right? Because, like, every dev is not trying to make a Souls game. So that means there are plenty of games that you can play outside of Souls-likes, right? And people do enjoy this genre. But the problem is most of them just suck dick. Like they're just awful. And I think the best ones outside of the ones from Software are Kazan and Lies of P. So it's like there's like a handful of ones which are good.
Want to retire. Every week there is a new Souls-like game dropping or being announced. It is preposterous. This genre has become the hero shooter of the 2020s. Even the word Souls-like has been boiled, broiled, and sautéed to the point where it becomes meaningless, where every studio now says that they borrow elements from it. It's become just an absolute meaningless buzzword in a lot of cases. For some games that aren't even Souls-like, they'll still use the term to describe.
Yeah, I do think there is like a kind of a problem where there's a game that has a boss fight and a stamina bar, instantly Souls-like. But I feel like the Souls-like should be a bit more in-depth than stamina bar and boss fights, right? So, like, the system of the bonfire, that's pretty unique to the Dark Souls, right? Like, it just is. Like, yes, before the bonfire, you had the checkpoint. The way the bonfire works is a different kind of a checkpoint, because you sit down at the point and then like everything in the area comes back. That was pretty unique to Dark Souls, or to Demon Souls, in fact, right? So I think it should be a bit more in depth rather than just stamina bar, boss fight, Souls-like.
Describe certain mechanics. Like if you happen to use the right bumper for an attack or something, they're like, oh, we took inspiration from Dark Souls for this one. Meanwhile, you're using right bumper to like change your fucking gun or something. It's just that word and the genre as a whole has become so diluted, and the fatigue is really setting in. A lot of people are now yawning and rolling their eyes during every conference that shows a game that even remotely resembles something Souls adjacent, and I hate to see that, because that used to be the most hype.
I mean, I'm
deal.
not.
But I looked up how many
enjoy
Souls-like
these
games have come out this year already, and it's 7, which means there's at least been one a month, and they're pretty big budget ones for the most part. Now, not all of them are standalone games.
But that's only 7, though.
Like Lies of P's DLC.
Like, if 7 is too much for a genre, I mean, think about the first-person shooters or the BRs. Like, I'm sorry, but the first-person shooters, there's like fucking 2,000 every week. Oh, but 7 a year is too much for Souls-likes. I just don't know, man. I feel like the first-person shooter is way more oversaturated than the Souls-like. And again, the problem is bad Souls-likes,
which was an absolute slapper, and obviously that does include Elden Ring Night Rain. And the point I'm making isn't even to say that all of the Souls games that are coming out now are like bad or anything. In fact, I'd still argue the majority of them are pretty good, but there are some that it's very clear companies are just rushing to shit out, striking while the iron is hot. And
guys, question for you, right? Would you guys consider the Night Rain to be a Souls-like or a roguelike? Because, like, Souls-likes have a very specific pathway, right? But that's not the pathway that you have for Night Rain. Like, you land, you grab your bullshit, you go through the bosses. If you die, game over, out. That's closer to a roguelike, in my opinion. But it's clearly, it's got the Souls things in it because, I mean, it's Elden Ring, which is a Souls-like. But at the same time, it's kind of not. I'm curious what you guys think. Kind of a Souls-like? Huh. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
And it's getting lazier for some of them. And I hate to see that, because these games are very special to me. Now, I want this to be not just a rant about the state of this genre, but I also want to just review the most recent one I played, which is Wuchang Fallen Feathers. I finished it last night. It was a pretty meaty game. It took me over 16 hours. The full edited playthrough is on my gaming channel, Moist Critical Gaming, if you want to see it. And I know me mentioning that I want to review this on the back of this rant about how oversaturated the genre has come immediately plants the idea in your noggin that I fucking hated Wuchang. But that's not true. I didn't dislike this game or anything. I didn't think it was bad. But I do think Wuchang is a great example for studios just wanting a Souls game out there without really delivering anything new to the genre at all. So it just feels very generic and thus feels pretty stale. This game has gotten a lot of criticism kind of an okay because game, of its absolutely abominable 7 out of 10 maybe. PC launch. It was so bad, in fact, that for the first time in who knows how many years, I actually decided not to get the PC version of a game and instead got it on console. So I got this on PlayStation 5 and I had no performance issues at all, but pretty much across the board.
So I heard this game had problems on PC. I bought this on day one. I didn't have any issues. And I don't have like a, oh my god, crazy PC. I think I've got like a 4070. It's good, but it's not like the top of the range good, right? So like, perhaps if you have under like a 4060, the game is shit. But if you got over that, the game works well. But here's the issue, right? These games should have playtesters that test them on the same hardware that the average person has, right? Because I guarantee these game testers are playing on like a fucking a 4080 to a 4090 or higher. Like, of course your game's going to fucking work. You need to test it out on a 3070 because the average person is going to have just some, you know, standard graphics card, like a 3070, 3080, 3090, or even a 4060 to a 4070, right? The only people who tend to have like a 4090 are people who are hardcore computer nerds or hardcore gamers. So it's like, you need to test it on the average person's hardware. But that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Everyone was reporting that this game was irredeemable dog shit when it comes to performance on PC. Like, it just wouldn't even work. It was like the fucking McDonald's ice cream machine of video games. And they also made an apology recognizing how horrible the launch was for PC and how inexcusable it was, so it's good they're at least recognizing that, but it should have never shipped in that state in the first place. This is a topic I can yap about till the cows come home. It is shocking that we still get so many majorly broken PC releases for video games where they ship in pretty much unplayable states sometimes.
A great example to this, it's actually Elden Ring. That game on PC on day one was a pile of shit. That ran like absolute just shite, but it worked almost flawlessly on console. And I've started to buy these kinds of games on console first, especially if it's the From Software games, because they always just work on console better. It's very weird.
Like, that's almost just a scam. Like, you are paying for a product that can't even run.
It's not almost a scam. It's absolutely a scam.
It's so weird how that is still so common. But they're doing their best to update it and fix it. They've been rolling out patches, which some people are reporting are helping. So, I mean, they're chipping away at it, but that has been a huge hurdle for this game. But for me, since I played it on console, I didn't have those issues. So let's dive into the actual spaghetti and the meatballs of the game. I want to start with some of the positive things here, so that way I'm not just negative Nancy off rip. One thing this game put a big emphasis on that I wasn't expecting was story. There are NPCs out the wazoo here, and all of them have a lot of exposition and give you a lot of lore.
Sometimes.
They did a lot to carve out a world here that I do think was pretty fresh. I thought the story was good. I enjoyed the narrative, and I appreciated that. There's a lot of quest lines as well. Granted, I can't believe I'm immediately going to attach a hemorrhoid onto this. But granted, a lot of those quest lines you follow don't really give you any reward worthy of the time you put into it. You don't really get anything for doing a lot of the side activities other than maybe at best another charge on your healing flask. In this game, it's the mana vase. That is like the best possible reward you get for the side content, which is just a little underwhelming. Yeah, it's a good reward because it's really helpful to have another charge, but you went through a lot of effort. You'd kind of want something more exciting, like a new weapon or something, but you don't usually get that through doing one of the quest lines. They save for like 3 or so big side quest lines that are easily missable. In fact, one of them I fucked up. But point is, it is cool how much story there is. I just do wish the rewards were a little better for doing so much out of your way for some of the side content. But I thought that was cool. I think the gameplay is very smooth. I think it is pretty silky across the board. I think a lot of the abilities, like the disciplines is what they're called in this game, are flashy and fun.
So this could be like a hot take, but the combat in this game starts off really fucking clunky and slow. Right? So, like, I quit after 10 hours, maybe, because it weren't great to me. But then, like, I started playing it again off stream, and, I mean, I'm enjoying it more because I've started to learn all of the different skills, of the different kinds of the armaments, right? But the first couple of hours are supposed to be the best because it's supposed to grab your attention. This game goes from kind of meh, and it progressively gets more, all right, I'm starting to enjoy this game a lot more now. But the beginning is supposed to be, yes, I like this a lot. And that's something that this game, it just doesn't do, in my opinion.
Feels responsive, it feels good.
Except the huge titties and a fat ass. That obviously is pretty gripping. But again, combat is king. A character is second.
I was going to, once again, put a little blemish there with a little asterisk with something, but I'm going to refrain. I'll get into some of the gameplay complaints here in a little bit. But there's again, plenty. Overall, I do think there were a lot of fun ways of playing with the disciplines, and since you can seamlessly go from one weapon to the other through having a Skyborn Might, which is something you charge up through various different means, you can then switch from one weapon to the other while also using a skill. It makes it flashy, fun, and smooth. It's cool. There's a lot of room to play there and get very creative in combos. Another thing I liked about the game is its skill tree. Granted, a lot of the things on the skill tree are just like +1 to endurance, +1 to strength, that kind of thing. There are some certain nodes in the skill tree that do change the way your build will function, such as giving it the ability to deflect on the third hit of a light attack string. Deflecting in this, or clashing, excuse me, not deflecting. Clashing is when, like, you attack during one of their attacks, or they attack you during one of your attacks, and then they will hit each other, and it is a really good tool to allow you to continue pushing through that without taking tons of damage, and it can change the way that you approach a build. And it is free to respec those points, which is very nice. So you get to try a lot of different things, and it makes it fresh. So you're never locked into one build, and the respecs aren't a resource, so you can freely change things in and out. Very similar to the way Black Myth Wukong did it, which is something I really appreciate. Another great thing about this game is how much meat is on its bones. It is a long game.
He's talking about
it took me
the game, guys. He's not talking about the girl.
A pretty girthy chunk of time here to get through it, and I missed a boss, unfortunately. I usually like to do 100% bosses when I play a Souls game. This time I accidentally missed one through flubbing one of the quest lines. I made a big boo-boo by exploring too much and bricking my quest line, which locked me out of a boss that I really wanted to fight. So yeah, there is a lot of content here. There is a lot of exploring here. It's exploring with a capital E. This is, I would say, comfortably the most densely packed levels in the genre. And I actually mean that as more of a negative thing than a good thing. I think there's a lot of people that praise that. For me, I didn't like that. And okay, I've given you a lot of positives. Now we're going to mix and match positives.
Densely packed areas. I think the placement of all of the enemies wasn't a problem, but I do think the areas were very confusing. It's kind of like if you go to the left, you got a fork. If you go to the right, you got a fork. If you go straight ahead, you got a fork again. It's like the game is just constant forks, and this becomes very annoying. And these games always try to be like Dark Souls 1, but they just can't get it right. Like, Dark Souls 1, in my opinion, in terms of the area design, perfect. It's perfect. Like, the way the whole world connects is just... Not a single game has come even close to doing that same thing. And the way these devs try to do this themselves is just creating forks. Like, fork here, fork there, forks everywhere. Like, I'm tired of forks. Just I don't know, man.
Negatives. The levels in this game, I really think, are just so counterintuitive. There's no, like, flow to them. It's just all haphazardly branching paths. So, in pretty much every single map, you will reach a fork in the road. And regardless of where you go, that fork will reach a fork. Yeah. And then you'll follow one path there, and that fork will reach a fork. That fork will reach a ladder. And that ladder will wrap around to one of the previous forks, where then maybe you end up going down the other side of it, and you'll find another ladder, which will wrap back around to a fork, or maybe it'll go somewhere else for another branching path. Like, there's no fluidity to its level design. It didn't feel fun exploring. It felt like a fucking headache and a chore. And since I did end up getting just sucked into exploring so many things just because I was so curious what reward might be there, it just leads to the most, like, nauseating traversal. And the worst part is, when you do that level of exploring, you don't really get any good rewards. Like, I did get lucky a few times where the reward was like a new weapon, but the weapons you get from it, like, most of them were pretty bad. Like, they weren't great weapons, unfortunately, and you were lucky to get that. A lot of the
guys, so I started using the dual swords off stream. Boys, I like the dual swords in this game a lot. I like them a lot. The only game, I think, where the dual swords felt cleaner was probably in the Neo 2. Like, outside of that, the dual swords in this game feel very clean. Especially if you get the skills for them, right? The spear in this game is something I want to like, but the skills you get from the skill tree are just... I just don't care. It's just... It's not for me. But dual swords, though... Mwah.
Exploring just leads to dead ends where you might get, like, one thing that'll let you pop it for more mercury, which is this game's version of Souls. And that's it. Or, like, you'll get some purple moss so you can cure corruption. It never felt rewarding to explore at all. Like, I love the idea of having maps like this where there is so much there. Like a soup with so many chunks for you to chew on. But it's like empty, it's like styrofoam chunks. Like, you don't get anything out of doing that, and it just kind of sucks to chew through. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. And it sucks because I do think there was a lot of potential there. Like, I think the maps look really nice. Like, I think every level is visually beautiful. I think the whole game itself is pretty gorgeous to look at. I think there's a lot of people that were really trying to find everything to hate about this game for some reason, so people were criticizing it for looking too similar to things like Black Myth Wukong or Wulong Fallen Dynasty. And I can get that argument kind of, but it doesn't bother me. Like, I still think they did a good job of carving their own identity in the visuals department, especially when it came to, like, their bosses and even some of the enemy designs. So that didn't bother me. It's just, I hated the way the maps were laid out. And another thing they did with each map here, like all of the levels, is the way they would make it like difficult is they would just add tons and tons of like random traps and statuses out the wazoo. So there'd be like corruption fart fumes that you'd have to like wander through, and you'd need to put on armor that's really resistant to corruption, so you don't.
The first time you encounter this is underneath the temple, right? Well, like if you kill the boss at the top, you go down, you open up like the underground. That's like the first time you encounter this. It's pretty fucking annoying. It is really annoying. It's like it's like a poison swamp, and this could be a hot take, but I don't fucking enjoy the poison swamps in these games. I fucking hate them. Always have. Dark Souls 1 poison swamp at the bottom of Blighttown. That pissed me off.
Get corrupted on the way through and then need to pop the purple moss, or there'd be like blight containers where if you hit them too hard, or if you like run through them or dash through them, it'll shoot blight balls at you, which half your health temporarily. Like just so many statuses that make it annoying to get through as opposed to like hard or fun. Like it's not hard to do that, it's just tedious. And something that also made it even more tedious was this game's baffling decision to have such a shortage of shrines. Shrines being the bonfires of this game. The shrines are placed really, really far apart. And there are shortcuts. Like there's no sacrifice of shortcuts. There are quite a handful of them, but they don't make it that much faster. So another big problem people talk about in this game is the runbacks. Like if you die to a boss, most of the time it's going to be a long run to get back to that boss. So you better pray that you get it first.
So the first time I encountered this was the guy, so he wasn't a boss, but he was a pretty tough enemy. Was like in the first area, well, you climb up you go past the temple, you climb up the ladders, and there's like this fucking spinning around guy, and he just spams you with fucking fire and more fire and exploding pots. If you die to that guy, you've just got to climb up 20 ladders to get back. It's not like it's hard because of the enemies. It's just annoying. Just climb up the ladders. All right, let me just climb up all these fucking stupid ladders. That was the first time I encountered it, and I'm not that far into the game because I did quit 10 hours in, and I came back to it yesterday to play it again. But I have heard that the runbacks for some bosses are really, really fucking bad. Like, I'm talking Demon Souls bad.
Try, because you are not going to like the runback if you keep dying. They were not very generous with the shrines. And again, that doesn't do anything to make the game harder. It just makes it more tedious. That's like a very arbitrary way of making the game appear more challenging or punishing than it is. That's just annoying. And that was a bit of a headache. And overall, I would say this game is more on the easier side in the genre, which by no means is a bad thing. I think that's totally fine. It's just their way of making things harder was just by making them more annoying as opposed to like better mechanics.
So here's the thing, right? And I'm talking about like these games as a whole. In my opinion, these games are starting to get to the point where it's just it's too much, right? It's like the great example to this is Promised Consort from the DLC to Elden Ring. Bro, like he was so over designed, so annoying. Like just every single swing, beams of death, more beams. Like it was just fucking obnoxious. And that's what these games have started to do, because they have to. All right, these games. If you play these games, you're playing them because you want a challenge, right? So they have to be harder than the previous game, because it's just going to be the same if it's not slightly harder. But this line, where do we draw this fucking line? Because it's too much in my opinion. Like it's getting too much to where like you go from Demon Souls to Dark Souls 1. that was like a perfect jump in the difficulty. Dark Souls 1, I'm not including Dark Souls 2 because it sucks dick. But Dark Souls 1 to Bloodborne, again, a slight jump in the difficulty, but it wasn't over the top, except the camera. But that's a different story. And then to Dark Souls 3, again, a jump. Gale, Slave Knight in Dark Souls 3, he is maybe the best boss in all of these games. Like, period. Like, he was perfect. Like, he gave you time to heal, attack, and dodge. Like, he wasn't a spammy asshole, like, just non-fucking stop. But then you get to Elden Ring, and then it's just fucking, guys, guys, I'm going to hit, guys. Look, I'm going to hit, guys, and then boom, explosion, beams, jump away, dagger, try to drink, nope, throwing sword or throwing spear, and then jump in, explosion, grab attack, phase 2, throw you in the fucking air, beams of death, jump into the sky, come down, explosion again, dead. It's like, bro, fuck off. Like, I'm just fuck off. Like, it's getting too much. Like, listen, I love the challenge of these games, but it's becoming too much. Like, and I think the other example is the DLC to Lies of P. The final boss, he just doesn't fucking stop. He just keeps going. He just attack, and you parry every single attack. And then maybe, just maybe, you get one hit. Oh, God. It's become tedious in like it's hard, but in like the worst way. And I wish the devs would go back to like Dark Souls 3 and just make that slightly harder, but not more annoying. I hate the delay attacks. If you can't tell. And I hate when they just don't give you a chance to do a single fucking thing. Just let me heal. Why give me heals if I can't fucking heal? It's so annoying. But yeah, that's my rant about why I think this is why I've started to hit this fatigue of these games. It isn't because there's like a huge amount of these games. It's because they're just becoming too much. I don't know. And before you say skill issue, bro, I beat Elden Ring, including the DLC, completely solo, including Promised Consort Cookface. I beat all these bosses, okay, completely by myself. It's not about skill issue. It's about annoyance. It's fucking annoying.
Or making them, more challenging mechanics. It just made them slower and tedious ones. Now, I want to talk about the combat again, because like I said, it is fun. I do like the combat mechanics here. But there is nothing new in it. It's like exactly what you're used to in the genre. It doesn't try to do anything super different. Now, I don't think it's a requirement to do that or anything if you're making a game in the genre. Like, there's nothing wrong with just doing what all the other games that came before you, but doing it really well. You don't need to put your own quirky, unique spin on it. You don't have to reinvent the fucking wheel. That's not...
A great example to this is actually Elden Ring. Like, if you've played Dark Souls 3 and you've played Elden Ring, you see the fucking... It's like... It's clearly Dark Souls 3. But it's got, like, a very slight change to it. And by the way, the Ultra Great Swords in Elden Ring, there is one attack from Dark Souls 3. I want it back in Elden Ring. So if you've played Dark Souls 3, you've got the slash from the side like this, right? And then you have the one where you hit the ground and then you pull it back up. Elden Ring does not have that. That attack with that sword would be perfect to fight the dragon in the DLC. I think his name was Bale. That moveset of that sword would have been perfect. But they decided to get rid of it. And then plus you've also got the dual swords as well. These Sellsword Twin Blades in Dark Souls 3. They felt so fucking good. But in Elden Ring, they don't have that moveset. And I kind of want that back as well.
What I'm saying. But this game is so content to just be, serviceable. It doesn't go above being like...
It's not
good.
Extraordinary,
it doesn't try and be
it's a
great
good game.
Or anything. It's just good enough. It's what you expect, and it delivers what you expect. And I guess at this point, with how many fucking Souls games I've played, I just appreciate if it did try and go beyond that and be great and, want to do something more
It just has to be good.
Now, the game has a few weapon types. It has long sword, dual blades, one-handed sword, spear, and axe. And there's not a ton of weapons in this game for each of those categories, which didn't really bother me because I ended up mainly just using Lashing Whip. The versatility in this game doesn't even really come from its weapons so much. It mainly comes from like the discipline skills plus whatever skill, whatever weapon you choose comes with. That's mainly where it comes from. So for me, the Lashing Whip made my attacks have longer range, and I have like the dance.
Great example to this is Kazan. Kazan only had the dual blades, the great sword, and the spear. But the in-depth skill tree to each individual armament, it felt more in-depth and unique. Instead of just having, all right, here's 200 armaments, but you've only got the same 2 attacks, right? So it's like, if you've only got 3 or 4 to choose from, that's great. So long as you get to switch up, like, the moveset and the skill set, etc. That's fine. That's great. I prefer that personally.
Where it hits a lot in its long range. It felt really strong. So I didn't mind any of that. There's also spells in this game. There's a big emphasis on spells, actually. You get a lot of them. And I can't really opine on that because I don't do any spell casting in Souls games. It's just not how I like to play them. It's not my cup of tea. So I don't really have a lot of say in how the spells feel in this game. I used a lot of them just to see it because they were very flashy and cool.
Especially
and I have no
the
doubt
buff
you can make a
ones as
really
well.
fun, strong build with them. It's just not typically how I like to approach games in this genre. So don't have a lot to say there, but they did seem very cool with a lot of potential. Overall, I felt the combat was fun. Albeit very by the numbers, like what you expect without going above and beyond by any means, but it was still good and I had fun with it. But this is by far my biggest complaint in this entire game. They made a decision when it comes to the combat that I think really fucking sucks. And it's how they handle knockdown. Every boss and tons of enemies have multiple moves and ways of knocking you down. Which, in Souls games, is always, like, tough, because once you get knocked down, it throws off your rhythm, and you can get punished. Like, it is always rough. But in other games in this genre, you have ways of combating that. Like, there are some iframes, like, when you roll out of it, or there are perks where you can do, like, a quick roll out of a knockdown. In this game, there is none of that. If you get knocked down, you will pretty much die in, like, every case, unless you're really tanky, or if the boss or enemy decides not to keep attacking. When you get knocked down, there is no quick get up. If you are spamming roll to get up, you are still going to get up at a pretty slow pace, and regardless of where you like roll in what direction, you will still get hit. There are no iframes on it, and it'll typically lead to a knockdown chain. So you'll get knocked down once and you'll try and like roll out of it real quick so you can get back on your feet and fight. But what'll happen is the boss is still going in like a string, or maybe it starts a new string and it'll knock you down again, and then you're going to eat another attack when you try and get up. Rinse and repeat till you die, and usually it's like 3 or 4 hits for that. Or if you don't get knocked down again, you'll just eat a huge hit when you get up and you get punished. You can't really avoid damage once you get knocked down. And if you try and like wait it out, like where you lay on the ground instead of try and like roll out of it and you try and slow get up, obviously you're going to eat a fucking wallop there too. Because you're not like invincible when you're getting up or anything like that. So if you try and like wait out a chain or something, you'll just eat attacks while you're still fucking snoring down there, still sleeping. There are no really good options of combating knockdown in this game other than just don't get hit. Like, that's really it.
I mean,
so
that's
when
kind
you're
of the point
fighting
of
a
all
boss,
games. Don't get
you
hit.
could be
It's not
doing
that
it
hard.
perfectly, but if you get knocked down once, that's basically curtains. And I really didn't like that. That doesn't feel punishing per se. Like, it is. Like, that is punishing, but in a way that doesn't feel fair.
It's shitty.
Because it's not like other games in this genre do it like that. Usually if you get knocked down, you do have ways of saving that and like not losing your run for it. Like, there are ways that you can be skillful about solving that problem as opposed to just not ending up in that position in the first place. And I don't like that approach of like, well, just shouldn't have got knocked down. You should have known you'd die the second you got knocked down because now you're out of options. That's checkmate. That was so...
ZDKeys.com. Shop the latest games and upcoming releases at the best prices.
infuriating. Like I said, the game is on the easier side, but the way they try and make it harder is through things like that, and I think that sucks. Something a lot of other people complained about, and I did too for a little while, but it grew on me, is how much the bosses move. So in this game, I think the bosses are really cool and very flashy, and I think they look really nice, and some of them have very fun attacks and like very good patterns to learn that make it really feel super cool. But every boss in this game is constantly moving and spamming. There are a lot of bosses that will just spam combos or spam spells endlessly while also spamming iframe.
That is exactly what I was talking about. These games have gotten to a point where the bosses either have the most insane delays or they just don't fucking stop. There is not a balance to these games anymore. It's just dodge until your stamina runs out or until you get hit. Or you've just got to learn the longest delay of all time. That's it. I do think we need to go back and think about why Slave Knight was so good.
So they're moving around the arena. They're jumping around you. They're teleporting away constantly. So it makes it very hard for you to get a big punish in. It makes it hard for you to get like a charged heavy on like a back shot or anything like that. And a lot of people were noting that that was frustrating. And for me it was too sometimes, but it's one of those things where towards the end of the game I kind of figured out how to fight back against like the constant iframe spam and dodging and moving around. So it didn't bother me that much towards the end, but in the beginning, yeah, it was kind of annoying. But I don't think that's the biggest deal in the world. Though I will agree with the take that because the bosses are always moving, it does nullify some builds. Like, it does make them just not viable, such as some things that you might want to try with the axe, because it is kind of slow, and you can still make it work if you're like really tight with it.
I tried the axe. I really don't like the axe.
You might not get your whole string off, or you might not get to activate everything you want to with your skills in order to get your build going and cooking and doing damage on the boss, because they are moving so much. So you need to be able to strike faster. You need to be able to do something to catch up to them to start attacking. So I understand why some people and their builds find it to be like really, really annoying. Anyway, overall, I think Wuchang is a solid game. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I had fun playing it. Though it is a very average, middle-of-the-road Souls game. It doesn't...
I'd say it's above average. Because, like, if you're going to put it into average, there's a lot of games which are average. But they kind of suck at the same time. I'd say this game is above average overall. Maybe a 7. Maybe a 7 to a 7.5. But I don't think it's anything extraordinary. And yeah, it doesn't bring anything unique to the table in the way that Kazan. Every boss in Kazan was good. Every single one. That is something that it's incredibly unique to Kazan. And then you go to Lies of P. You have the arm where you got a shotgun now with the DLC. You got a grapple hook. You got the electric arm. They all feel really fucking good to use. And And also, you can choose your weapons by switching them up. So, like, do you want to put a wrench head on a fucking, I don't know, a club? Do it. So like, that's why that's unique. This game doesn't really have anything unique. And the other example is the Lords of the Fallen. The Umbral Realm, the idea of it is so fucking cool. Like, it's probably up there with the coolest things in this entire genre. Right? But this game doesn't have anything that is like, that is a great idea that can be used in future games for this genre. This was just a hot girl with swords and a spear, and you just hit the enemy. That's about it. There isn't anything unique.
Try and do anything big or new or innovative or special. It is content just being serviceable. And for some people, that's fine. And I will say, for its price tag, I think that is also a big,
it's fair.
Point in their favor. Like, that was a good move. It's not a $70 game.
True.
That's a really good decision. So
I think I paid $49, and that was for the deluxe edition. So I think the base edition was like $45. Great, perfect. That's the pricing that a game should be, if it's not a super high-end, top-of-the-range game. Like, Grand Theft Auto 6, if that's £100, I understand why. Because that game's probably going to cost, like, over $1 billion, if not more, to make. So, like, that I understand. Wu-Chang should not be 70. Assassin's Creed Shadows, sure as shit, should not have been 70. I wouldn't even pirate that fucking game. If I was not a streamer, I wouldn't have bought it. I wouldn't have played it. Even if I could easily pirate it, I wouldn't have fucking played it anyway. And that was 60 or £70 to play. Like, fuck off.
So, for the $50 price tag, you do get a lot of content, and you get a fine Souls game. So you get a cheaper price tag for a still good Souls game. I think that's a solid deal right there. That's not bad at all. But if you get it on PC, you might not be able to play it at all, apparently, which I think is a huge problem. Games should not be able to be shipped in that
I do think they patched it a couple of days ago.
I won't go down that path again. I played it on console, so I didn't have those issues.
I think that was after he made this video.
Anyway, though, overall, like I said, Wu-Chang is good, but it's not great. It's not amazing or anything. It's just exactly. It's fine. It is a good Souls game for a very decent price that I think was a good decision from them. Anyway, that's it. See ya.
Bye-bye. Guys, so have you noticed that Moist Critical kind of looks like Asmongold? Just very slightly. Right? It's almost like the brothers. One minute. Wait. Shit. Not Reddit. God damn it. 1 minute. Guys, I will get it. Not God. Oz. There he is. Let's pull up a normal picture of him. Let's say, this one. That's kind of normal, I guess. Guys. Guys. They look very similar. It's almost like the distant cousins or something, right? Right? Well, anyway, this was Soulslike Fatigue by Penguins, or I kind of agree with what he said, but I think the fatigue that I've got is a different kind of fatigue. It's not because there are a lot of these games, it's because these games overall are bad, and the ones which are not bad, the way they're hard is by being fucking annoying, rather than being just hard. And I think devs should go back to Dark Souls 3 and be like, why was Slave Knight so good? Why was the the Nameless King so good? And why is Promised Consort such a piece of shit? It's because he was over-designed. There is such thing as over-designed. But yeah, boys, I appreciate you watching.